You know, there's something I've noticed about so many wonderful people in their 60s, 70s, and beyond. They apologize a lot. Sorry for bothering you. Sorry if I'm talking too much. Sorry for taking up space. Have you ever caught yourself saying things like that? Maybe even when you didn't really need to? Here's the thing, you've lived a full life. You've earned your wisdom, your stories, and your right to take up space in this world. So why do so many of us still feel the need to say sorry for simply existing? Today, we're going to talk about why it's time to stop apologizing after 60, and how doing so can actually boost your self-respect and confidence in ways you might not expect. Now, I'm not saying we should never apologize when it's truly warranted. Of course not. But so often, we say sorry out of habit, not necessity. And over time, those little apologies can chip away at how we see ourselves. They send a quiet message that we're somehow inconveniencing others just by being ourselves. And that's just not true. So, let's talk about 4 powerful ways to break this habit and start standing tall in your worth. First, recognize when an apology isn't needed. Let's take a moment to reflect on something we do dozens of times a day without even realizing it. Think about the last time the word sorry slipped out of your mouth. What was the situation? Were you actually at fault, or was it more of a reflex, a polite habit so ingrained you didn't even question it? For so many of us, especially as we get older, sorry has become our automatic response to simply existing in the world. We apologize for asking questions. Sorry to bother you, but we apologize for our pace. Sorry I'm moving so slowly today. We even apologize for having opinions. Sorry, I might be wrong, but here's what's fascinating, and honestly, a little heartbreaking, about this pattern. When we peel back the layers, we realize most of these apologies aren't about genuine remorse. They're about something much deeper, an unspoken belief that by merely needing help, taking space, or sharing thoughts, we're somehow inconveniencing others. That we should make ourselves smaller to make others more comfortable. I want you to imagine something with me. Picture a dear friend, someone you truly respect and care about, saying these same apologetic phrases to you. How would that make you feel? If they said, "Sorry for asking you this simple question," wouldn't you immediately think, "You don't need to apologize. Of course you can ask me things." Yet when it comes to ourselves, we hold this invisible double standard. We extend grace and understanding to others that we rarely offer ourselves. And over time, these constant unnecessary apologies do more than just fill our conversations. They shape how we see our own worth. The silent impact of automatic apologies. Every time we say sorry, when we haven't actually wronged someone, we're sending subtle messages, to others and to ourselves. That our needs are burdens. That our presence requires justification. That we're guests rather than rightful occupants of our space in the world. This is particularly poignant after 60, when society already sends so many messages about diminishing relevance. Without realizing it, our language often reinforces these cultural narratives. But here's the beautiful truth. We have the power to change this script. A simple but transformative exercise. For the next few days, I invite you to become an observer of your own words. Carry a small notebook, or use your phone to jot down each time you apologize. Don't judge yourself, just notice. You might be astonished at how often it happens without conscious thought. Then, ask yourself 2 gentle but powerful questions about each apology. Did I actually do something wrong here? Am I apologizing for simply being human? When you identify an unnecessary apology, try this revolutionary act. Replace it with something that affirms rather than diminishes your worth. Instead of, "Sorry for asking," try, "Thank you for helping me." This simple shift does something remarkable. It transforms the energy of the interaction from deficit, "I've done something requiring apology," to mutual respect. We're engaging in normal human exchange. Instead of, "Sorry if I'm too slow," experiment with, "I appreciate your patience." Notice how this acknowledges the other person's kindness while removing the implication that your natural pace is somehow wrong. For those moments when you're about to preface an opinion with self-doubt, Sorry, this might be stupid, but try simply stating your thought. Here's what I'm thinking. Why these small changes matter. At first, these might feel like trivial word swaps. But language shapes reality in profound ways. Each time you choose not to apologize for your humanity, you're rewiring neural pathways that have defaulted to self-diminishment, training others to interact with you differently. Most importantly, reinforcing to yourself that you belong exactly as you are. There's a quiet strength that grows when we stop treating our normal human needs and expressions as offenses requiring apology. It's like standing a little taller in your own skin. The ripple effects. What's extraordinary is how this practice begins to influence more than just your speech. It starts shifting your entire presence in the world. People respond differently when we stop presenting ourselves as perpetual apologizers. They listen more attentively. They take our contributions more seriously. They mirror back the respect we've begun showing ourselves. And perhaps most beautifully, this isn't just about you. Every time you model this self-respect, you give silent permission to others, your friends, your children, your grandchildren, to inhabit their space in the world with similar assurance. A gentle reminder. Of course, this isn't about never apologizing when apologies are genuinely warranted. There's profound dignity in taking responsibility when we've truly erred. But the constant, reflexive sorries? Those we can lovingly release. So today, I invite you to begin this practice with compassion for yourself. Changing lifelong speech patterns takes time. Some days you'll catch yourself mid-automatic sorry and smile at your awareness. Other days, you might realize hours later that an unnecessary apology slipped through. That's all part of the process. What matters is that you've begun the journey of speaking to yourself and allowing others to speak to you with the quiet dignity you've always deserved. Because here's the truth no one should have to apologize for. Your questions matter. Your pace is valid. Your opinions are worth hearing. And your presence in this world is never an inconvenience, it's a gift. Second, own your space, without guilt. There's a subtle but profound shift that often happens as we move through our later years. One that creeps in so gradually we might not even notice it at first. It's not just our posture that changes, but something deeper about how we inhabit the world. Have you ever caught yourself automatically stepping aside to let others pass, even when there was plenty of room? Or noticed how your voice sometimes trails off mid-sentence in group conversations? Maybe you found yourself choosing chairs near the edges of rooms or apologizing for simply needing assistance? This isn't just about physical space, it's about psychological territory. Over decades, we've absorbed countless cultural messages telling us that aging means gradually receding, becoming less visible, less central. We start internalizing the idea that our presence should be convenient, unobtrusive, accommodating. But here's the radical truth waiting to be reclaimed. Your right to take up space, literal and metaphorical, doesn't diminish with birthdays. If anything, it grows more earned, more deserved with each passing year. The anatomy of shrinking. Let's examine what this shrinking really looks like in daily life. Physically, it manifests in small but telling ways: the unconscious hunch of shoulders when entering a crowded elevator, the way we might contort ourselves to avoid inconveniencing others, the hesitant pauses before speaking up. Emotionally, it shows up in how we downplay our needs, telling the doctor, "It's probably nothing," when something feels off, or assuring family members we're fine when we could genuinely use support. These behaviors stem from beautiful intentions, kindness, consideration, not wanting to be a burden. But when overapplied, they become a form of self-erasure. The paradox is that in trying so hard not to inconvenience others, we often end up inconveniencing ourselves, and denying the world the full benefit of our hard-won wisdom and perspective. Standing tall in your space. Now, let's talk about the antidote. This isn't about suddenly becoming domineering or loud. That would be inauthentic for most of us. True presence is quieter but more powerful. It begins with simple physical reclamation. When you enter a room next time, notice your instinct to make yourself small, and gently counteract it. Let your shoulders relax back rather than curve forward. Choose seating not based on who might deserve the better chair, but on where you'll be most comfortable. Speak at the volume that comes naturally rather than automatically softening your voice. These might seem like tiny adjustments, but they send profound signals, both to others and to your own psyche, that you belong exactly where you are. Conversational space matters just as much as physical space. Many of us have developed the habit of yielding the floor too quickly, especially in mixed-age company. Practice the gentle but firm art of holding your ground when interrupted. I'd like to finish my thought. Delivered with a warm smile, honors both yourself and the listener. When offering opinions, experiment with dropping the self-deprecating prefaces. This might be silly, but... and simply state your perspective. You'll likely find people lean in more when you stop warning them not to. The ripple effects of presence. What's extraordinary is how this shift in physical and vocal presence begins transforming other areas of life. When we stop acting like guests in our own lives, others stop treating us that way. Family members may start seeking your input more. Service providers might respond with greater attentiveness. Even strangers often mirror back the level of respect you demonstrate for yourself. There's also an internal shift that occurs. Each time you consciously choose not to shrink, you're voting for your own validity. Over time, these small acts accumulate into something transformative, a quiet but unshakable sense of belonging exactly as you are, where you are, at this stage of life. The bridge to boundaries. This reclaiming of space naturally leads us to our next frontier, the vital art of boundary setting. Because nothing undermines our hard-won presence faster than constantly saying, yes, when our entire being is whispering, no. The connection is profound. When we habitually make ourselves smaller physically and vocally, we're more likely to override our own needs in other areas too. But here's the beautiful symmetry. Just as practicing physical presence strengthens our ability to hold emotional boundaries, setting clear limits in our relationships and commitments reinforces our right to take up space in the world. They're two sides of the same coin of self-respect. Your invitation to experiment. For the coming week, I invite you to conduct a gentle experiment. Each day, choose one small way to consciously inhabit your space more fully. It might be selecting the most comfortable chair rather than the most convenient one for others. Speaking your opinion without preemptive softening. Allowing yourself to move at your natural pace without apologetic hurrying. Notice what shifts, both in how others respond and, more importantly, in how you feel about yourself. That flutter of discomfort you might feel at first? That's just the growing pains of a lifetime of conditioning being gently stretched. Because here's what becomes undeniably clear when we stop shrinking. The world has been waiting for the full you all along, not an edited, minimized version. Your experiences, your perspective, your very way of being are gifts that deserve space to breathe and be seen. After decades of living, loving, and learning, that isn't just your right. It's your sacred responsibility to the younger generations who need to witness what authentic, unapologetic aging looks like. The revolution doesn't require banners or bullhorns. It happens quietly, in the straightening of a spine that's carried so much, in the voice that no longer trails off, in the peaceful certainty of someone who knows they belong exactly where they stand. This is how we rewrite the narrative, one unshrinking moment at a time. Third, set boundaries without apologizing. How many times have you said yes, when you really wanted to say no? Maybe it was out of politeness, or because you didn't want to disappoint someone. But here's the thing, every time you ignore your own needs to please others, you're quietly telling yourself that your comfort doesn't matter as much as theirs. And that's just not true. Setting boundaries isn't about being rude, it's about respecting yourself. Think of it like this. If your best friend told you they were exhausted and needed rest, would you want them to push through just to make someone else happy? Of course not. You'd want them to take care of themselves. Well, you deserve that same kindness. So, the next time someone asks for a favor, or your time, or your energy, and you're not up for it, try this. Instead of saying, "Sorry, I can't," just say, "I won't be able to this time." No apology needed. You don't owe anyone an explanation for taking care of yourself. At first, it might feel strange. You might worry about what others will think. But here's what happens over time. People start to respect your time more. And even more importantly, you start to respect yourself more. Because when you stop treating your own needs as an inconvenience, you reinforce the truth that your well-being matters. Fourth, celebrate what you bring to the table. Here's something I want you to really let sink in. You have decades of experience, wisdom, and stories that no one else has. You've seen things, learned things, and overcome things that younger generations are just starting to figure out. So why downplay that? So many of us, as we get older, start to minimize ourselves. We say things like, "Oh, I'm just an old woman, what do I know?" Or, "Nobody wants to hear my stories." But that's not true. The world needs your perspective. Your family, your friends, even strangers, they can learn from you. Try this. The next time you're tempted to dismiss your own thoughts or experiences, pause. Instead of saying, "Oh, never mind, it's not important," say what you were going to say with confidence. Share that memory. Give that advice. Your voice matters. And if you ever doubt that, think about this. Younger people today are hungry for real wisdom. They're surrounded by fast opinions and shallow advice online. But you've lived through things they've only read about. You've learned lessons they haven't stumbled upon yet. That's valuable. Now, I know this might all sound simple, but that doesn't mean it's easy. Breaking a lifetime habit of over-apologizing or shrinking yourself takes practice. But here's the good news. Every time you choose self-respect over unnecessary guilt, it gets a little easier. And in the next part, we're going to talk about something truly powerful. How embracing this shift doesn't just change you, but how others see and treat you, too. Because when you stop apologizing for being yourself, the world starts to reflect that confidence right back at you. But for now, I'd love to hear from you. Have you ever struggled with setting boundaries or feeling like your voice isn't as important as it used to be? What's one small way you could start changing that today? Let's chat in the comments. And if this is hitting home for you, stay tuned, because we're just getting started. You know, there's something truly remarkable that happens when you start embracing your worth without apology. It doesn't just change you. It changes how people respond to you. Have you ever noticed that when you carry yourself with quiet assurance, others seem to lean in a little more? They listen a little closer. They respect your time, your opinions, and your presence in a whole new way. That's because confidence is contagious, and so is self-respect. Fifth, let your confidence reshape your relationships. Think about the people in your life who seem effortlessly self-assured. Not arrogant, not loud, just certain in who they are. How do they make you feel? Chances are, you take them seriously. You trust their judgment. You don't question whether they deserve your respect because they don't question it. Now imagine bringing that same energy into your own interactions. When you stop prefacing your thoughts with, "This might be silly, but," or laughing off your accomplishments like they don't matter, something shifts. People start responding to the version of you you've decided to show them, the one who knows her worth. Try this for 1 week. Experiment with dropping the disclaimers. "No. I'm probably wrong, but," "No. Sorry to be a bother." Just speak, ask, and exist as though it's perfectly natural for you to do so, because it is. You might be surprised how quickly others adjust to meet this version of you. Sixth, make peace with the past. Here's something we don't talk about enough. Many of us carry around old apologies for dreams we didn't chase, for choices we should have made differently, for not being perfect parents, partners, or professionals. But here's the truth. You did the best you could with what you knew at the time. And that's all any of us can do. Every experience, even the messy ones, brought you here, to this moment where you're still growing, still learning, still becoming. That's worth honoring, not apologizing for. So if there's an old regret whispering, "You should have," in your ear lately, try this instead. "I choose to make peace with that chapter." Then turn the page. Closing thoughts. At the end of the day, this isn't really about stopping apologies. It's about starting something far more beautiful. It's about claiming the space you've earned through decades of living, loving, and persisting. It's about realizing that sorry was never meant to be a constant companion, just an occasional guest. So from now on, let's save our apologies for when they're truly needed. For everything else, let's try Thank you for understanding, instead of, sorry I'm slow. I'd love to help another time, instead of, sorry I can't. I've got a different perspective, instead of, sorry if this is dumb. Small shifts, big changes. Because you, yes, you, deserve to move through this next chapter with your head held high, your voice clear, and your heart light. No apologies necessary. Now I'd love to hear from you. What's one unnecessary, sorry, you're going to remove from your vocabulary this week? Share your thoughts in the comments below. And if this message resonated with you, hit that like button and subscribe for more conversations like this one. Remember, the world needs exactly who you are. Unedited, unapologetic, and utterly wonderful. Here's to living these next years as your most confident, self-respecting self yet. You've earned it.